Nuclear explosions are one of the most destructive forces known to humankind. These powerful explosions release enormous amounts of energy, causing widespread damage and loss of life. Understanding the effects of nuclear weapons is crucial in a world where such weapons exist. We must comprehend the potential consequences of their use to work towards a safer future. Nuclear weapons have the power to level entire cities and cause long-lasting environmental damage. The effects of a nuclear explosion extend far beyond the initial blast, leaving behind a trail of destruction and suffering that can last for generations. It is our responsibility to learn about these weapons and advocate for their control and eventual elimination. The development of nuclear weapons marked a turning point in human history. For the first time, we possess the ability to destroy ourselves many times over. This sobering reality highlights the importance of diplomacy, understanding, and cooperation between nations. By understanding the devastating effects of nuclear weapons, we can work together to prevent their use and create a safer future for all. We must learn from the past and strive for a world where such destructive forces are never unleashed again. In a nuclear explosion, a blinding flash engulfs the area, thousands of times brighter than the sun. This light can cause blindness, and the heat can ignite fires and cause severe burns. The heat can melt metal, vaporize concrete, and create firestorms. Firestorms can engulf cities, making escape difficult. Immediate shelter is crucial for survival. Underground bunkers or thick concrete walls offer the best protection. Preventing nuclear explosions is the best protection. Following the initial flash of light and heat, a massive blast wave expands outward from the explosion's center. This powerful shock wave travels at supersonic speeds, destroying buildings, uprooting trees, and hurling debris with incredible force. The pressure exerted by the blast wave can crush objects, collapse structures, and cause severe internal injuries to humans and animals. The blast wave from a nuclear explosion can travel for miles, causing widespread destruction and casualties. Those caught in the open are particularly vulnerable, as the force of the blast can throw them against objects or lift them into the air, resulting in severe injuries or death. Even those seeking shelter are not entirely safe from the blast wave's effects. The pressure wave can penetrate buildings, shattering windows, collapsing walls, and showering occupants with debris. Underground shelters offer the best protection, as they are less susceptible to the blast wave's destructive power. Understanding the destructive potential of the blast wave is crucial for developing effective civil defense strategies. Reinforced structures, early warning systems, and evacuation plans can help mitigate the casualties caused by a nuclear explosion. One of the most insidious and long-lasting effects of a nuclear explosion is radiation. Nuclear weapons release invisible, high-energy particles that can penetrate the human body, damaging cells and DNA. This exposure to radiation can lead to a condition known as radiation sickness, also called acute radiation syndrome. The severity of radiation sickness depends on the amount of radiation absorbed, the duration of exposure, and individual factors such as age and overall health. Symptoms of radiation sickness can range from mild, such as nausea and vomiting, to severe, including internal bleeding, hair loss, and organ failure. Radiation can damage the body's ability to produce blood cells, leaving individuals vulnerable to infections and uncontrolled bleeding. It can also damage the lining of the digestive system, leading to severe diarrhea, dehydration, and malnutrition. In severe cases, radiation sickness can lead to death within days or weeks of exposure. Treatment for radiation sickness focuses on managing symptoms and supporting the body's natural healing processes. This may involve blood transfusions, antibiotics, and medications to reduce nausea and vomiting. In some cases, bone marrow transplants may be necessary to help the body regenerate healthy blood cells. Section 5. The body's response: fighting an unseen enemy. When exposed to radiation from a nuclear explosion, the human body immediately begins a desperate fight for survival. The body's cells attempt to repair the damage caused by ionizing radiation, but the extent of the damage can overwhelm these natural repair mechanisms. The body's first line of defense against radiation is to eliminate radioactive particles from the system. This process, known as decontamination, involves removing contaminated clothing, washing the skin, and, if necessary, administering medications that bind to radioactive materials and help flush them from the body. While the body attempts to repair the damage and eliminate radioactive substances, medical professionals focus on providing supportive care to alleviate symptoms and prevent complications. This may involve managing infections, treating internal bleeding, and providing pain relief. The body's ability to recover from radiation exposure depends on various factors, including the dose of radiation received, the individual's overall health, and the availability of prompt medical care. While the body can repair some damage, high doses of radiation can overwhelm these mechanisms and lead to long-term health problems or death. Section 6. Long-term effects. A legacy of suffering. The impact of a nuclear explosion extends far beyond the immediate aftermath. Survivors of a nuclear attack may experience long-term health effects, including an increased risk of developing various cancers, cataracts, and cardiovascular diseases. Radiation exposure can damage DNA, the genetic material within our cells, leading to mutations that increase the likelihood of developing cancer later in life. The types of cancers associated with radiation exposure include leukemia, thyroid cancer, breast cancer, and lung cancer. Children are particularly vulnerable to the long-term effects of radiation exposure. Exposure during pregnancy can lead to birth defects, developmental delays, and an increased risk of childhood cancers. The effects of radiation can also be passed down to future generations through genetic mutations. The long-term health consequences of a nuclear explosion serve as a stark reminder of the devastating and enduring impact of these weapons. It is our responsibility to learn from the past and work towards a future free from the threat of nuclear war. Section 7. Psychological scars. The invisible wounds. The psychological toll of a nuclear explosion is profound and long-lasting. Survivors may experience a range of mental health challenges including post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, and survivor's guilt. The trauma of witnessing such devastation, losing loved ones, and facing an uncertain future can leave lasting psychological scars. The psychological effects of a nuclear explosion are not limited to those who directly experience the event. The fear of future attacks, the loss of security, and the constant reminder of the destructive power we possess can create a climate of anxiety and fear that affects entire societies. Addressing the psychological needs of survivors is crucial in the aftermath of a nuclear explosion. Providing mental health services, counseling, and support groups can help individuals cope with trauma, process their experiences, and rebuild their lives. The psychological impact of nuclear weapons highlights the importance of addressing the root causes of conflict and promoting peace, understanding, and diplomacy. We must work together to create a world where the use of such devastating weapons is unthinkable. Section 8. Our shared responsibility, preventing nuclear war. The horrors of nuclear war are not a foregone conclusion but a choice we make as a global community. It is our shared responsibility to ensure that these weapons are never used again. We must work together to reduce nuclear arsenals, prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons, and ultimately achieve a world free from the threat of nuclear annihilation. International cooperation is essential in addressing the threat of nuclear weapons. Treaties and agreements, such as the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, provide a framework for disarmament, non-proliferation, and the peaceful use of nuclear technology. Education plays a vital role in preventing nuclear war. By understanding the devastating consequences of nuclear weapons, we can become more informed citizens and advocate for policies that promote peace and disarmament. Each of us has a role to play in preventing nuclear war. By supporting organizations working towards nuclear disarmament, engaging in dialogue about the dangers of nuclear weapons, and promoting peaceful solutions to conflict, we can contribute to a safer and more secure future. Section 9. A plea for peace. Choosing a brighter future. The future of humanity depends on our ability to learn from the mistakes of the past and choose a path of peace. Nuclear weapons represent the ultimate failure of diplomacy and a threat to our very existence. We must choose dialogue over destruction, cooperation over conflict, and strive to create a world where the use of nuclear weapons is unthinkable. We have the power to choose a brighter future, one where the threat of nuclear war is a distant memory. By embracing our shared humanity, promoting understanding and tolerance, and working together to address the root causes of conflict, we can create a world where peace prevails and all people can thrive. Let us choose hope over fear, dialogue over destruction, and leave a legacy of peace for generations to come. The future of humanity is in our hands. Let us choose wisely.